So thanks everyone so much for joining this morning. So this is our 5th webinar in a series of 10 that we have for this year's Give Miami Day. So really excited to have our 3 participating nonprofits here joining us for this panel. Just really to have a conversation about what has helped to make their campaign successful in the past. So we hope that this session can provide you, all the organizations joining us today, with more tools to help make your own Give Miami Day campaign a success. So quick intros. My name is Chelsea Clark. I'm Programs Associate here at the Foundation, and I'm joined by my colleague Ruth Ramirez, our Senior Director of Collaborative Philanthropy. And so she and I are going to be kind of co-moderators this morning in conversation with our 3 panelists. So I'm going to go over a few reminders before we jump into the conversation, and then I will pass it over to Ruth to introduce our panelists. All right, so just quick housekeeping. Please submit any questions that you have for our panelists in the Q&A feature, and we'll present them to the panelists at the end of the discussion. So if you have a question for any specific panelist, please include their name and make sure to be specific, and that way we can ask the panelists directly and make sure that we get your question answered. And then one other quick note, this webinar is being recorded and we'll be posting, the recording on the trainings page of givemiamiday.org in case you aren't able to stay for the whole thing, or if you'd like to go back at any point to reference it later on. And we do this for each of our trainings, so we'll be recording and posting them online. So not to worry if you're unable to join any of them live, they'll be on the website as a reference when needed. All right, so save the date. In case you haven't already, be sure to mark your calendars. It feels like it's coming up very quickly. We still have a few months to go. But this year's Give Miami Day will take place on November 18th. It's always the Thursday before Thanksgiving each year. And then nonprofit registration. So I'm sure many of you are already aware and have submitted your application for this year, but just a quick reminder that registration will be open until end of day on October 1st. So please be sure to make sure that you get registered before then if you haven't already. And then today's agenda. So we're going to do a deep dive conversation with each of our 3 guest panelists. And then at the end, we're going to open it up for questions. So be sure to submit all of your questions for our panelists into the Q&A feature, and we'll get into those at the end of the discussion. And now I'm going to pass it over to Ruth to give an introduction to each of our 3 panelists.
Yeah, I'm so excited to introduce you to these amazing human beings who have joined us this morning for our peer panel of learning best practices from your peers. So I'm so excited. Before I jump in, I want to frame, we have selected 3 different nonprofits, one to represent small nonprofits with small operating budgets, and then a medium, and then a large. They have various experiences from participating in Give Miami Day. And so we're really excited to share these questions and this time with you. So let's get started with Rosemary Carrera. She is the founder of 305 Pink Pack. Rosemary started her cancer journey with a diagnosis of stage 2 breast cancer after her first screening mammogram at the age of 40. With an 8-month-old crawling about her, and family and friends came together to help her with meals, childcare, household chores, so much more, so she can focus on her treatment. 305 Pink Pack was created to provide these same vital services and support to women throughout South Florida so that they can too have the same opportunities to focus on their healing and spend more time with their families. It is a pleasure to have Rosemary join us this morning. Here's some of their stats for their nonprofit. They started their nonprofit in 2020, so what a year to start a nonprofit, really. And here are some additional stats of what they did for Give Miami Day as well. And Rosemary was a team of 1. So in our questions, you'll be hearing a bit more about her experience in her first Give Miami Day in 2020. I want to introduce you to Ieshia Haynie, Executive Director of the Optimist Club of Overtown. Ieshia has a steep work in history of behavioral health and has more than 2 decades in the nonprofit sector, focusing on access, inclusion, equity, and opportunity with an eye towards identifying service gaps. Her work has led her to help align appropriate resources for clients, their families, and our community. Ieshia values and embraces inclusion in all things with philosophy, which believes that children of all abilities have the right to equal access and meaningful participation in engagement in education, enrichment, character education, and social emotional development. Who better to lead a group like the Optimist Club They were founded in 1993. Some of their stats here for Give Miami Days last year, and she was a Give Miami Day team of 1. And last but not least, we have Devra Gelman. Devra is a development communication specialist at Americans for Immigrant Justice, also known as AI Justice, a nonprofit law firm that protects and promotes the rights of immigrants through direct representation, advocacy, impact litigation, and outreach. Devra began her work in donor relations and has grown her role at the organization in communications, leading social media, email communications, and media relations for AI Justice. This is Devra's 4th Give Miami Day. The organization was founded in 1996. Some additional stats for their campaign last year, and this year they have a team of 3 for Give Miami Day. So all these stats and all these data points we'll be highlighting in their Q&A in our conversation, and we hope that this is insightful for you. As always, if you have questions as we're having these conversations, make sure to drop them in the Q&A feature, so that way we can make sure that we're addressing those and answering those questions as we have our peer panelists in conversation for about the next 35 minutes. And then we'll open it up to open Q&A. If any additional questions that were not answered, we can address them then till the top of the hour. So let's get started. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That way we can see everyone's faces bigger. And so excited to have you all here. And I think, Chelsea, you have the first question for our panelists. And I think
Yes. All right, so yes, excited to dive in. So Ieshia, your program is quite dynamic. It's more than just athletics. How are you engaging donors to ensure they know about your programming and what you're fundraising for this year?
Morning, everyone. You're right, we are pretty dynamic. I think the thing for us is certainly overcoming kind of our long run as being kind of a sports enthusiast program. So the way we go about doing that is creating content for all of our areas of engagement for kids. So it's not just the athletic portion, so the basketball and football and soccer and things like that, but we also look to highlight our chess, our academics, our photography, our arts programming. So we look at the 3 R's, so it's academics, arts, and athletics. And so what we would do is we create content areas and champions for those areas. We can delve in it a little bit more later, but I think this is an amazing area for nonprofits to showcase the variance in work that they do by using your champion areas and getting your content experts to create content in that specific realm.
Awesome. That's really great to hear. And I'm going to pass it over to Rosemary now. So as you approached Give Miami Day, what did you implement to get your campaign and donors aligned, especially given, being a new nonprofit, having limited resources and capacity? Were there any specific strategies that you employed to engage with your donors?
So first thing, you need to know your audience. That's the key in all of this. My gauge is always my mom. If my mom understands what we're doing, then we're good to go. So this is really going to help you keep your focus. The first thing that we did is that we secured a match. And so once we had a match for that day, we were able to go on from there. Our audience is greatly on Instagram. So our social media postings and designs were geared more towards Instagram. And then we wanted to do posts about a month, during the entire month. We sent out a newsletter the week before and the day before so that we could reach out to our current donors. And then even with our match, they have a database that they were able to send out that same newsletter about Give Miami Day to all of their people in their database. With our match, we also posted at their business with a QR code for our Give Miami Day. And it was just about engaging them throughout the day as well. We just didn't want to overwhelm people because most of the people in our audience were not familiar with Give Miami Day. And so before anything, our first post for Give Miami Day for that time was actually a video of me explaining what Give Miami Day is and why it's important. So make sure you know your audience, and then that'll help you focus on the rest of your strategy from there.
Yeah, so Rosemary, let's go back a little bit, because I know that 2020 was your first Give Miami Day and the year you launched your mission. That's a tough year to launch a nonprofit. how was your experience as a new nonprofit participating in this Day of Generosity? So you talked about some of your social media strategies, and you highlighted on some of that, but like the bigger picture, what was that leading up as you launched in, was it January of 2020?
January. Yeah.
Right. So you started the year starting high, and then everything sort of imploded for the entire world.
Right.
And so what was that lead up for Give Miami Day? And then what did Give Miami Day represent for you as you were thinking about all these really cool strategies that you did implement?
So it was really overwhelming right off the bat, because one, I didn't know about Give Miami Day or how to go about it, or really what to expect or how our donors would react, especially since Give Miami Day comes right after a very big month for us, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. So there was a lot of learning to do. And one thing that I did was that I reached out to the founder of another nonprofit that was participating in our same health group. And she gave me some incredible advice. So that was step one. I participated in all the training programs that the Miami Foundation offered so that I could really learn how to go about this. And one other thing that was really helpful was really looking at the profile pages from other groups in our same health category so that I could see what kind of information they were posting, what kind of information they felt donors would be interested in. And so then I tried to kind of use that as a template and then make it more specific for our purpose. So that was really helpful because, again, not knowing what I was doing, I looked to all these different areas. Once we kind of got that in focus, then we created a plan to really focus on two specific things because there are so many things that you can participate in with Give Miami Day. So we focused just on our general giving and one power hour. Which the power hours are really great, but that takes a lot of work. So you really want to hone in on one specific thing, I think, as far as your power hour goes, and then general giving. This year, now that we've learned more about it, we're going to be focusing more on our champions and then also the general Give Miami Day. But our champions are going to get a lot more attention and focus on this year so that we can really expand our reach even further.
So And I want to dive into a little bit of the champion conversation because your champions are your seed funders, right? The ones who have been with you since the very beginning. Right. And you may or may not have this fleshed out yet. So I'm putting you kind of on the spot. How are you engaging those folks to get them to become champions? And then what does that mean for your campaign this year as they're championing for your cause?
So our greatest champions will be our sponsors for October. And so it's about developing that conversation with them and sitting down with them and saying, wow, you were so incredible for us during October. If we could just ask you for one favor for Give Miami Day is just to continue to spread the word. If you can tell 5 friends about what we're doing and how you have made an impact with us already and want to share in that impact with them, that would be great. So I think it's about focusing on that and then also giving them the tools that they need to be able to be our champions. They need to know statistics from our program, what specific things we're doing, where the money's going, just to be as transparent as possible, because I think people are looking for transparency when they're giving now more than ever.
Most definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like you've taken everything that Give Miami Day is and in one short year, have created a robust campaign around that. So that's really cool. I actually want to take this over to Devra now. In contrast, Americans for Immigrant Justice has participated in Give Miami Day since our inception in 2012. So you guys have been around since Give Miami Day launched, Devra. How has the organization grown in its reach to its audience, and what are some staple, tried and true strategies you are going to implement this year? Like, what is the thing that AI Justice is about, and how are you doing that this year for this, our 10th anniversary?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to say I do know that my computer thinks I'm the background. But just piggybacking off what Rosemary said, it is really all about knowing your audience. And I think 5 Pink Pack and AI Justice really show that, those first few years, making sure people know what Give Miami Day is so important. This is our 10th Give Miami Day, so we don't have to explain. Everyone knows what it is at this point. So it's really explaining to people why they have to continue giving. You know, a lot of our supporters have given for the past 9 Give Miami days. Why is the 10th so important? And that's just about making sure your audience knows where the money's gone in the past, what you've accomplished, and where you're going. So really making sure that everyone knows, you know, we've accomplished all these wonderful things, but we're not done. We have these incredible programs. We have this new litigation we're taking on. We have all of these new projects, these issues that are continuing, and how your support on Give Miami Day is going to influence that. As for our tried and true practices, we really focus Give Miami Day on social media. Like Rosemary said, Instagram's huge. We're also across other platforms. So making sure you're diversifying your Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter campaigns also is super important. You don't want to get the same information up for different audiences because different things resonate with different people. That's also true of our email communications. We use email big time for Give Miami Day, and understanding that, you know, that's a longer platform. You can get more information out there versus social media, and making sure you're just tailoring your information to all your different platforms and audiences.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you guys are a robust organization, and as a development and communication specialist, like, you're right, you're the perfect person to be leading this, because Give Miami Day is not only a fundraising platform for you, but it also functions as a continual communications and appeal to all of your super loyal supporters. That's wonderful. So I want to pass it back to Chelsea to address some of the things that Ieshia is doing towards her goals this year for Give Miami Day.
Yeah, thank you, Ruth. So Ieshia, now that you have access to hundreds of community members that participate in your programs at the Optimist Club of Overtown, what strategy do you use to mobilize them and get them to help Optimist Club reach its fundraising goal?
I think the strategy for us in partnering with our members and our clients is really showing them impact, showing a long instinctive impact as it relates to their kids, to our community. When we started our latest campaign last year, it was the top of the pandemic in March. And so what we looked at was the other ways that we could impact, since we couldn't do face-to-face engagement. So a lot of that became Zoom or different webinars, or ways that we can engage our kids still with tutoring, engage our families with parenting engagement, helping them with applications via Zoom. So those were the things that we wanted them to see. So we have a parenting group that works with not only our kids, but of course isn't attached to our board. So they're a part of our engagement. So they get the word out to our community and to our community of parents as well. So they serve as our champions. So they have actually a champion board that they're working on even now, which allows them to be able to engage families, engage other parents that are receiving services from the club, and to kind of increase their level of participation for Give Miami Day. Last year, I think the year before last year, we had 11 unique donors. This past year, we had 65 donors. Wow. And what's so alarming about that change in that year, and during such a difficult year, was that most of them were parents. And it was based on our level of engagement, letting them know that we were there. We constantly did needs-based assessments so that we could meet the needs of our families where they were. And so I think that that level of engagement and having a quorum of parents that kind of carry your message and your story and your impact for you is really critical.
Definitely, and I'm really glad you brought up the virtual piece and needing to shift, especially early on in 2020. This is something that so many organizations had to kind of work through, and I think, you know, the numbers that we saw come in, the amount of donors, and just the overall numbers raised by organizations in 2020 really showed that so many organizations were really able to really effectively make this pivot into more virtual programming, and to really convey the value of those types of direct services, even though they're being done virtually. And so I will pass it back to Ruth for our next question to Devra.
Yeah, so I love how, and just to touch on what Ieshia said also, I love how you have this kind of not a PTA, but sort of like champion concept that already exists within your mission.
Right.
Your organization already has this that so then blends so well into what Give Miami Day is, which is champions. And I know I see one of the questions, and I want to leave the Q&A for the Q&A section when we open it up, because I think that all the three panelists can really touch on it. But somebody had asked, to provide examples of greatest champions could be. Your champions can literally be anyone who's passionate about your mission. So Ieshia's vision of creating and having a group of parents who are already advocating and doing that work throughout the year just makes that transition so much easier when it comes to then getting them to mobilize towards your fundraising goal. So then, Devra, I wanna sort of pivot here and talk about size of team. And I know this year you have 3 team members. You guys are a team of 3, and that's unique. I think that for many of our audience members, a team of 1 is what, is who's usually leading Give Miami Day. So last year you were a team of 1. And I want to know, how did you engage your board and staff to increase your capacity as you worked to raise critical dollars for AI justice mission? And then it's sort of like a 2-pronged question. What did you learn from then that you're going to be implementing this year, since your team has now grown to 3 staff members? So what were those things that you did last year to basically clone yourself? And then how are you going to kind of get those lessons learned moved over to this year's campaign and get you guys running?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really about making sure people know. If your staff doesn't know the day of Give Miami Day, if your board doesn't know the day of Give Miami Day, if your major supporters don't know, then they can't help you. So really, as soon as you have that date, especially for staff and board, get it on people's calendars. Make sure they know it's coming as soon as possible, and send them reminders leading up. That's true of your supporters too, on social media and your email. And it doesn't have to, and it's knowing your audience. It doesn't have to be in your face all the time. It could be a designated Give Miami Day post, or it could be an email banner below your main content. It could be a social media banner below your main content. So finding all these different ways to make sure people know it's coming. That's going to be especially important if you have, like Rosemary said, matching dollars that maybe there's a major funder who sees it, would have just sent in the check, but now is like, that's something I want to participate in. It's really just making sure people know. As for team of 1 versus team of 3, I've gone back and forth. So 2 years ago, I was a team of 3, then a team of 1, and now back to a team of 3. So we go through these phases. So I've done it all. It's of course difficult when you're a team of 1, and shout out to all of the teams of 1 out there. I understand what you're going through. All of us up here understand what you're going through. It doesn't mean it's impossible by any means. Last year compared to the year before, our dollars did go down a pretty significant amount. It went from 43,000 to around 30,000, which can be disheartening if you look at it that way. But our actual number of donors went up, and that's really important. And you take the wins where you can get them. Don't be discouraged and keep doing the work, because we're all doing what we can and we're all doing great. As for opportunities with the bigger team, like I said, last year, team of 1, making sure people know that it's coming, making sure people know about the champion pages. The great advantage we have this year is with more people, we can do more. So that's making those champion pages for people and sending them the link. Creating that email outline saying, send this to your firm. You can change it however you want, but we've already created the template for you. Just making sure people can't say no to you, basically. We've done all the work on our end. Now all you have to do is get it out. Really makes it hard for people to not help your Give Miami Day campaign.
Totally. And I'm so glad you brought that up. So champion pages, we're doing a training next week on champion pages and leveraging your champions to excel in peer-to-peer fundraising. So if you're not yet signed up for September 7th, Tuesday at 10 a.m., please do so, because there are new features for our champion pages. And she touched on it. They have templates. We have templates this year where you can create a template champion page for your board, and you can create a template champion page for your donor, and then one for your biggest fans. So you can have different templates in there to make it really simple and easy for them to just launch their champion pages and get fundraising on your behalf. And you're totally right. And And I'm glad you touched on it too, Devra, because, I think that we can get discouraged in the dips and highs and lows of what Give Miami Day can bring, but really this is an opportunity for us to celebrate generosity. So the fact that you're able to recognize that despite dollars going down, number of donors coming in is really also part of the magic of Give Miami Day, because it's an opportunity for you to expose your mission to additional supporters who then, this is your sort of entry point. It's an opportunity for you to introduce them to your mission. And then you have a whole other year. Give Miami Day doesn't, the generosity in the relationship doesn't stop when Give Miami Day ends. It actually is a starting point for all of those new donors that come your way. And then you can introduce them and continue to engage them and cultivate them throughout the entire year. So I love that you touched on that. I want to take this over to Rosemary now. You raised more than $6,000 in your first year of Give Miami Day from new donors last year. That's huge. As a small nonprofit with a small operating budget, a team of one, possibly volunteer run, what was your follow-up strategy post Give Miami Day when we're talking about how do we keep these donors and how do we show them that we love them? What was your follow-up strategy after Give Miami Day to make sure that they felt thanked, that they felt loved, that they felt seen, and that you were grateful for their support to get your first Give Miami Day launched?
So everyone who donated that day received a call. I called everyone. Not everyone answered, but I left a message saying who we were, thanking them for their contribution. And I also wanted to learn how they found out about us, like what made them give on that day to us in particular, which was really interesting because so much of it came from social media for first-time donors to our organization. And then we had a handful that were loyal Give Miami Day donors who just stumbled upon our profile page and saw what they liked and read and liked what they read about us. So that was the first thing. The other is that for the holidays, each single person received a handwritten card, whether they gave $10 or $1,000. It was a personalized note thanking them for their contributions for the year and establishing that relationship with them further. And then they were all added to our newsletter as well. So throughout the year, they'll receive quarterly information on what our program is doing and how their funds are being used.
That is fantastic. You really touched on three amazing things. So individualized thanks is definitely one of the things that is critical. I think the rule of thumb in philanthropy and fundraising, it's like for every gift, you thank them 7 times. And I'm not talking about 7 gifts, but like a text message, thank you, a phone call, a handwritten note from somebody who's benefiting from your services. And all of this is also part of another training that we have coming up in September. So make sure you check out the key dates page. And then I love that you do this strategy where you're then doing a handwritten note. Handwritten notes are so sort of like circa, I don't know what year,
right?
But we've gotten so stuck in digital and email. And there's something beautiful about getting a handwritten note mailed to your home with somebody who took the moment to sit down and write, put into paper and really thank you for your contribution. And you're right, it didn't matter if it was a $25 or the $10,000 donor. You made sure that everyone felt that gratitude. But the key part was that you then kept them looped in and what it was that your mission was doing. The last time they heard about your organization wasn't Give Miami Day.
Right.
You continued the donor education cycle, which is so critical for them to stay connected, because what happens is a lot of donors give and then nonprofits just get so busy with the mission, and it's totally appropriate. I mean, we understand that we're frontline boots in the ground. I was a team of one when I did fundraising for Give Miami, and I get it. You get caught up in the work, and then we forget about thanking or engaging those donors, and then a whole year comes by, and then the next time you're talking to them is about them giving you money again for Give Miami Day. So let's learn about those things in the upcoming trainings, and for sure, I love that you are already doing that. So you must have been a fundraiser in a past life or something. You have the right mindset and strategy and how to engage your donors pre, during, and post. I'll kick it back to Chelsea for our last 2 questions to Ieshia to discuss collaboration with community partners.
Yeah, thanks, Ruth. So Ieshia, the Optimist Club is really a beacon in the community. You're so well known. So how are you collaborating with other community-based organizations for Give Miami Day that you already work with throughout the rest of the year?
So it's really about a long-term partnership. So the members that we engage throughout the year, whether it's our tutors that come in, whether it's Miami-Dade College, our teachers, our part-time teachers, it's partnership. That along with organizations that engage our families to support them. So for instance, there's a few local merchants in our area that knew about Give Miami-Dade because they're on our mailing list and they wanted to engage us. They're like, how can we help? How can we support you? So we gave them kind of some parameters. So some of them did raffles for special shoe drops, some of them did varying things to ensure that their community, who may not be aware of us, were able to still support us via them. And so that was a really kind of interesting way for us to get new donors. And then even beyond Give Miami-Dade, those donors have stayed engaged with us. We've gotten about 4 new coaches through that one merchant, which is amazing. So they volunteer an average of 15 to 20 hours per week. So I love the financial donations. They are amazing. But what I really want to see is more boots on the ground, is to use Ruth's term. So when I can turn a $25 donor into a volunteer year round, that pays in dividends. That's impact beyond impact, beyond impact. So what we want to do is show people how to touch, because that volunteer is more collateral than that $25 will ever give me, and that service beyond. So another thing about our volunteers, guys, what I want to just throw in here, that's another partnership. Most of our volunteers have been with the club for 10 plus years, coaching or training or teaching. And so the great thing about them is that they love the club already. So use your natural assets that are built in to your programming, the people that love your work, the people that support you. They're going to be your most effective town criers, if you will. So use them. I think another thing I always like to use is our board members. Sometimes we don't always know how to utilize our board members. This is a classic area to use them. Some of our boards have give or get commitments. This is also a unique way to tie them in for that give get. So whether they're bringing it themselves or facilitating it through another vehicle. So this is a great time for that. We did see a really positive win during that. So I think more than anything, you look at all of your living pieces of your organization. Everything is a partnership away. Even with some of our local nonprofits that are small or the same size as us, we engage them about kind of how we can support them in their work, and then how we can make a Give Miami-Dade a success between the both of us.
That's really amazing. And I do want to bring in a couple points that you mentioned. So the volunteer piece, I think, is critical. And it's something that we've really been striving to work through, specifically with the Give Miami-Dade platform over the last couple of years, is understanding how we kind of flag those donors, those that are coming to the platform and those that are truly interested in continuing service to the organization. And we find that so many donors are really very much interested in giving beyond just their financial contribution. So they're wanting to be engaged with. So in thinking through the platform, really want to open it up to organizations to make sure that you're utilizing the volunteer feature through the platform. It's something that you can include any volunteer events that you have coming up, any opportunities within your profile. So the donors, as they're coming to your profile and giving to you, they can see those ready to go. They have the organization's contact information. They know who to reach out to. And really just also coming full circle and making sure that the organizations are utilizing those sort of volunteer requests from donors and following up with the donors after the day of the event. Awesome. And I'm going to pass it over to Devra. So AI Justice's mission is clear and bold. So what advice would you share with your peer nonprofits on how best to engage with their audiences leading up to Give Miami-Dade, during and after the event?
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it. One, on your messaging, like I said, making sure your messaging is different and tailored to your specific platforms leading up, during, and after, but especially before and during, not just between platforms, but within a platform. So say Instagram, my morning post might be about our general mission. and that might resonate with someone and get us gifts. But the night post might be more about specific, the state of immigration, what's going on in the world, what are some specific little key things we're doing versus the whole mission. And that might resonate with someone. So making sure you're getting different messaging across, that's gonna tug on someone's heartstrings different, because we all have different things that resonate with us. I think Rosemary and Ieshia both touched on acknowledgements and making sure you're following up with your donors. And that really is important when we talk about segmentation and making sure you're pulling your Give Miami donors into a separate list with your email communications. And that doesn't mean by any means not reaching out to them. You still want to be, including them in your year-end campaign and ask, but your messaging is going to be a little different. Something even as small as saying, you helped us so much in your Give Miami Day gift. This is how you can bring your gift a little bit further. Or just if now is too soon, keep us in mind in a month, 6 months, next Give Miami Day. So really making sure you're tailoring a lot of your messaging throughout the year. And then this comes with when you're building on that list throughout multiple Give Miami Days, and that list gets bigger and bigger. And then you can really have target audiences for your Give Miami Day donors and people who are really care about this day and this cause versus your people who you're still getting to care about this day and this cause, and making sure the messaging is different.
Segmentation, that is key. And learning your audience it's actually how you started this Q&A, talking about how AI Justice has really done a good job, and you're a communication specialist. So your mindset is already thinking about this and how you're going to be engaging these different types of audiences. But you're right, the kind of messaging that we share with those who have supported us in the past versus those who can be new to our mission and engaging with us can be differentiated and different. And I love that strategy of using your social media, the same platform, in different ways that you can then communicate to them and kind of hit different points and even highlight specific programs that are part of your mission or focuses or initiatives that you're currently fundraising for. Cool. So I wanna actually shift us then over to, and right on time, it's 10:40. We have 20 minutes of open Q&A. So make sure you're dropping those questions into the Q&A feature. We have a few questions in here. And as you're dropping those in, if you do have a specific question for one of our 3 panelists, put their name in there or put their nonprofit name in there so we know who. But what we'll do is I sort of like field them and I'll just let you guys say, okay, I'll take that one or kind of go that way. But this one is about sponsors for matching dollars. How do you approach sponsors for matching dollars? And I think maybe Rosemary, you touched on this as well, but I'll let either 3 of you take this one. Somebody in our audience wants to know about sponsorships and matching dollars.
So I'll touch base on that a bit. For us, we wanted to be a little bit sensitive to the fact that 2020 was a tough year for everyone. And so I said, okay, who do I know that's business was not negatively affected with COVID? And so I approached them and I said, okay, this is our first Give Miami Day. We're excited about what's happening here. Would you be able to do a match of donations up to X amount? And they said, yeah, sure, no problem. So it's just looking at your network and seeing who is in a position that can actually help with this.
Yeah, definitely. And to add to that, sponsorships for matching dollars don't have to be large amounts, right? So you can also do a pool. I think in past trainings, we talked about how your entire board can sponsor a matching pool, and everyone throws in $500 to do this match as a lump and then say, then that creates your matching challenge. And then you promote it to your donors to then give. And I love, Rosemary, that you were sensitive to think about not businesses that were impacted or weren't impacted and figuring out who the right audience to go to and who would be interested in supporting your cause. So doing those 2 things, really defining your mission is key when you're approaching potential sponsors and obviously any donor. who can help this. But the point of the matching dollar really is to then leverage other people's giving. Give Miami Day already gives you a bonus pool percentage match. The matching dollar can really be a dollar for dollar contribution that can leverage and excite people, inspire them to give more, because they know that their donation is going to be matched by somebody who's already committed their contribution. So that's really awesome. Another question that we have here is, we touched on it a little bit, but can you provide examples of who our greatest champions would typically be? Let's see. So I think, and I'd like to answer this one because we had to do a lot of champion pages when I was at KIPP. And one of the things that we did was really just push all of our board members to have a champion page. Think of champion pages almost like if you're participating in a marathon and you're fundraising for a cause. So these are your marathon runners, these are your ambassadors, these are your cheerleaders, and also then any past donor or giver who has supported you in the past. The benefit of having champions is it's basically exponential growth for your campaign. If I was to approach a donor and ask them for support and they say, okay, I'll contribute $5,000 to your organization or $500 to your organization, there's a larger benefit to also get them to become a champion, because now they can go and say, hey, John Smith, who's my friend, I'm contributing $500. Would you match this? Would you contribute to my champion page to help this cause that I'm passionate about? So now they're going to 5, 10, 15 friends and getting more donors to come and support your mission. So your champions are going to be those people who are, one, possibly volunteers. So Ieshia, you're right, volunteers, pay in dividends as to what it is that they can do for your organization. Your board members and your biggest fans. Get the people who feel comfortable talking about your mission to engage in that way, so that they can feel comfortable reaching out to their network and their peers, posting it on Facebook, posting it on their social media. And then all of that movement and synergy comes back over to your mission during your campaign. Okay, how soon should we begin reaching out to our audiences to alert them to give about Give Miami Day and our organization asks for their engagement and gifting? How soon, ladies? Ieshia, how soon have you already told your people about it?
Yeah.
Okay, how soon did you do that?
So I started after we registered. And so
Okay.
it was an announcement. It was an announcement that we've officially registered for the 2021 Give Miami Day. Once I got my approval, I shared it. The first share was to our board, and the other share was to our large donor base. So share right away. Share right away, early and often, guys, if you can.
Yeah, early and often. And really why is just because Give Miami Day, everyone knows it's coming, and some people don't know, so you want to educate them early. And you want to let them know that's why we have the save the date, not for you to save the date on your calendars, for you to remember to tell other people to save the date. Tell your board members, tell your donors, make sure that it's on their calendars, send them a calendar invite. And then also start educating them on why it is that you're participating in this free fundraising platform that our entire community gets involved in. Are there tactics you have used on Give Miami Day to build momentum as donations come in throughout the day? How do you inspire and motivate people on that day? Devra, what's your storytelling? I know you touched on social media and how you're using it throughout the day. How do you build that momentum for donations as they're coming in throughout the day?
Yes, so like I said, getting those different messaging out throughout the day, announcing, this is a new fact that we have not mentioned about one of our programs yet. And then that's going to resonate with someone. I also think it's powerful to wait for, a lag in your donations, maybe sometime in the afternoon or early evening to announce a match if you have one. Rather than in the beginning of the day when there's already so much momentum and hype around Give Miami Day because it's just starting out the day. Once that lag starts, that's a great way to motivate people to give if they have not given yet, or even give again. Because you'll see sometimes you'll get someone who gave $25 in the morning, and then either a power hour. Announcing those power hours is definitely very good for getting momentum going. Announcing a power hour, a match can get someone to give again even. So making sure you're giving new information, whether it's something about the power hours or something new about your actual work in your program.
Perfect. And most definitely, the power hours is another feature that you can really utilize throughout your day. And so, if your power hour is at 4 p.m., make sure that your donors know and your community knows, your network, social media platform knows that at 4 p.m. on Give Miami Day, there's this thing that you're doing. And we talked about it when we did the power hour training and leveraging events. And so when we were thinking about early giving and communications, how you're going to be engaging folks leading up to that point so that then they're ready to give. And if you have been with us for previous years, before power hours, we had match minutes, which was mayhem, utter mayhem, and an influx of transactions. So instead of 1 minute, this year you have 60 minutes to engage your donors, to live stream, to talk to them, make phone calls, maybe do a phone-a-thon. So if you're finding that there's some sort of inspiration that's needed, calling up your donors and reminding them that power hours are coming up is a great opportunity, but they can give the entire November 15th, which is that Monday when we start early giving, all the way to that Thursday. Ieshia, I see you have your hand up. You want to jump in?
Yes, I wanted to share that this is where your content comes into play. Devra, you mentioned it as well, but I think having your content pre-planned, we're working with a really great videographer who's doing some really great work for us now, but during that power hour, just leverage that content that you have kind of pre-pulled and pushing it during that time. We've got some great new features this year that I'm very excited about. But I think it's a great time to kind of stage your content as it relates to pushing during those hours where things start to kind of plateau, which is normally the evenings, it appears, for us.
Yeah. All right, let's go into the other one. Do you focus on your mission when fundraising, or is there another aspect of your organization you focus on when attracting donors? Ooh, this is a good one. Who wants to take this one? I want to see. Do you focus on your mission when fundraising, or is there another aspect of your organization you focus on when attracting donors?
So mission is always great and it's always key, but the other side of it is your impact, right? So sometimes the impact, how you've reached, how you've helped, can be incredibly compelling. And sometimes your mission, which is always a good thing for us to kind of revisit and dust it off from time to time, but your impact and what you've been able to achieve is always going to speak volumes for you.
I think people like to see numbers. They like to see statistics. So the more information you have on the direct impact that you're making, that you're able to put out there, the better.
Yeah, that's actually a good point the two of you are making, because one of the things that I know that we saw a lot last year, and it's definitely one of the things I implemented, was quantifying what dollars do for the work, right? So in general, my mission was to support nonprofit public charter schools to educate students to and through college. General big vision mission, like huge, right? But putting it like that's a big statement, and then bringing it into a granular storytelling aspect, thinking like, okay, $25 does this, $50 does this, $100 does this, and quantifying it for donors so they can understand their impact, so that no matter if they're only giving $25 or $10,000, they know that they're creating impact. And so that's definitely one way that you can, not only just focus on your mission for fundraising, but like what your organization is doing. And remember, in your profile setup on the back end, you do have an area of focus segment that then on the front end, it looks like a purple box. Last year, we used that to allow nonprofits to share out a specific need around COVID, but feel free to use that segment as a way to highlight maybe a specific aspect of your campaign that you're going to be highlighting for this year. So if your mission is 305 Pink Pack, but you have a specific initiative about making sure that childcare is paid for every single person that is serviced, then that's where you can put the 1 or 2 sentences there and highlight that segment. And then below that, you have your mission statement and more about us section in your profile. So there's that as an opportunity. We have a few more questions and a few more minutes, so let's jump right into these. What are some materials you sent to board members leading up to Give Miami Day to encourage participation, toolkits, email templates, champion pages, info, etc., all of the above? Your board members should basically be your partners in the work. that we definitely did in our board member trainings. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. The recording is posted on the website. We basically talked about toolkits and ways to set it up for them. So give them the logos, give them the signature bugs. Their email bugs are all included in because we have these virtual backgrounds for you all with just a blank purple square where you can put your white logo on it. And I think I'm freezing a little bit. So sorry if my internet's going in and out. So make sure that you have that. Email templates were shared are also downloadable in that campaign resources folder. And of course, champion page template. In the back end, you can create a champion page template for your board members and equipping them with that. But one of the best ways to use your board members as well is as a thank you brigade, getting them engaged in fundraising, but also thanking your donors after the fact. But it's really cool to get a call from a board member from a nonprofit that you just donated to. So some tips there. Any tips on putting together a Give Miami Day bootcamp for your board and champions? So that's a great question. Some of the trainings that we've had are really appropriate for the general audience who's participating in Give Miami Day, whether it's donor, champion, board member. So feel free to take the information that we've shared and synthesizing it, or sharing the links themselves with them if they have the time to watch the trainings and hear the Q&A sessions that we have. But really, when you're engaging them, just making sure that they have the tools that they need. And so what I do personally with our trustees and our board members is just talk to them about the campaign on a one-on-one, ensuring that they know that I am their personal partner in the mission, and then making sure that they have a sort of about Give Miami Day and organization boilerplate. So it's easy for them to copy and paste into emails as they're reaching out to their network. Give them a sample email with solicitations, or sort of like, my name is such and such, I'm a board member at such and such organization, and why I want you to help us fundraise. And those tools really help them kind of feel empowered and gives them the confidence to go out and solicit on your behalf. So not every board member feels comfortable doing that. So just make sure you're getting their commitment. And when they commit, that then you're following up with the resources for them to do it, because your engaged board members are going to be the ones who are really going to drive this for you. And so as you're building that engagement on your board, you want to make sure that you have those tools. And that's how I would do it. And I think we have one more. My organization works in all 3 counties. Should I focus on the work in Miami-Dade County or our work in general? Chelsea, this one's for you.
I was going to say, I'll take that one. Yeah, so definitely we have a ton of organizations that are working not just in Miami-Dade County, but in order to be eligible and all of the funds raised, even though they are unrestricted through Give Miami-Dade, the dollars must be used for programming in Miami-Dade County. So what we do encourage for organizations in creating the narrative portions of your profiles, making sure that you're including information about the programming that you do offer to residents of Miami-Dade County within the county, just to make sure that it's as clear as possible to organize or to your donors, to help them understand what they are, the work that they're supporting within Miami-Dade County.
Wonderful. Well, we just have some few last reminders and making sure that you guys are keeping these on your calendars. And if you haven't added them yet, I'm going to screen share again and show you all, if I can actually screen share. All right, so we have some key dates that we always like to highlight towards the end of our presentation to make sure that these are on your radar. Of course, nonprofit registration is going all the way through October 1st. Our 10 weeks of nonprofit trainings, because it's our 10th year anniversary, is continuing all the way through October 5th. So make sure you're signing up for those and attending live so you can ask your questions and get those answered. Remember, it's until midnight, October 1st. If you've already registered and you know other peer organizations who have not registered, encourage them to participate. Give Miami Day this year is going to be huge. We have some really cool features in place for you all, and participation is really going to be high. So get as many nonprofits involved, get them engaged, and let's collaborate across the community of nonprofits. Of course, your last day to edit your nonprofit profile will be the day before early giving launches. And then we have early giving opening up, and that means that your donors can give as early as that Monday leading up to Give Miami Day, but the big day is going to be on November 18th. super excited for that day because it's when power hours are happening, when a bunch of the prizes are being given out. And so we're really excited to share this day with you. Then of course, we'll be dispersing your gifts by the end of the calendar year. If you have any more questions, you want to see details on these trainings, check out the givemiamiday.org key dates page. That's the URL right there. And then you can find all of the details, download your resources from our campaign resources page as well. And of course, if you have any questions, please contact us at givemiamiday@miamifoundation.org and make sure to book a meeting with us if you want to get some FaceTime with Chelsea or myself to help you strategize, fill out your application and submit that and get it going. I think that's all we have for today. And right on time. I'm so excited to celebrate this day with you guys and get you going. Please send us an email if you have any questions. Chelsea, anything else?
No, just really wanted to thank our three panelists. This has been a really awesome conversation, and I know it's going to be really helpful for so many of our participating organizations. So really just thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.